The Witcher is a series of games and books that I hold very dear to my heart. It was honestly, besides Elder Scrolls and Dragon Age, it was the first series that well, actually, that's a really horrible way to start that sentence. So I first discovered Elder Scrolls, then I dabbled with Final Fantasy, then I got into Dragon Age. But The Witcher, all three of those franchises have one thing in common. It was something that someone else had introduced me to, like my mom. I love my mom. She's awesome. So The Witcher was the first series that I actually found on my own when I was younger. And oh man, it's crazy how much time has passed. I feel so old. So it was when was it? It was 2014. So yeah, like legit 10 years ago. God, so much has changed. I was looking for new game recommendations, even though I knew I couldn't really afford anything or get anything for myself during that time period. I was playing GTA 3 on the PS3 so much because it was really just the only game that offered that kind of escape, like for what I wanted to do. Because I love driving around and shooting stuff up and really just driving around, honestly, like just that feeling of putting the radio on and just going where you wanted to go. Like I said a lot of crap about GTA 5, but it was a nice comfort zone during that time period when I was young. It was either that or Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. And then obviously Skyrim, of course, like just those games where you could just like go wherever you wanted to go, like with really no restrictions. Like that's one reason I've always loved open world games. So I was looking for new recommendations, and I noticed this game, The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings, and I'd never heard of it. I thought, oh wow, a cover art guy looks cool. What's his name? Geralt? Or like, okay, that's interesting. God, such a dumbass kid. How was I ever an honor student? So, fast forward a little bit, and we move to a more permanent location, at least for right then. So, not really permanent, but like, more sustainable, I guess. And I found out that The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings was only on PC and the Xbox 360. I had an Xbox 360. I also had a PS3. So, I was like, okay, like if I ever see this game, it might be cool. It might be interesting. And then literally one random day where me and my mom were in Walmart, and what do I see on like the discount rack, across from the games that were locked up in game jail? The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings. I really wish I still had that game card, like that game case, because like it was a nice one. I liked that one a lot. It was only like $15, and I was just like, oh my God. And my mom, she knew what I was talking about, so I was just like, okay, yep, we got to get it. So we got it, and I booted it up for the first time when I got home. I knew nothing about the game, and I was just like, oh, okay. And it was different. It was a different type of game that I was used to playing for like a very long time. It was a more mature take on an RPG. And I mean, the game really doesn't like beat you around the bush with it either. Like it doesn't try to waste your time like building up like, oh, like here's boobies, and oh, here's like incest, and here's like these brutal war crimes, the blah blah blah, like, and here's swearing a lot. It's just like, oh, okay, this is very different. And obviously I knew nothing about the book, so like the whole time I'm looking at like these terms and places and politics and characters, I'm like, who are you people and what are we doing here? So yeah, I was lost as crap, but I liked how the game looked. I liked how the game played. I liked the monster aspect of it, like how you had to switch between steel and silver. I thought that was really interesting and different, and the soundtrack was pretty cool. So I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna play it. So, I did play it. Played it. It's a very short game. Did my first full playthrough, and it was not a good one. It's the only playthrough where I actually killed Letho at the end because I just completely misunderstood him as a character and as a quote villain. So that kind of sucked. Then around that time, I see a beautiful thing, a trailer for The Witcher 3, the Sword of Destiny trailer. And that, just seeing that trailer for the first time was just awesome. Like no other way to describe it. It was just awesome seeing that for the first time. But then I looked at it and it said, "Oh no, like it's only going to be on next gen consoles." So if you recall in my Dragon Age video, I did say that we were able to rent a PS4, but we unfortunately couldn't afford the payment on it, so we had to get rid of it, or return it, I should say. So then I had a new goal. Like it was kind of my goal anyway, but like, I was more motivated to like keep my grades at an A throughout the entire rest of the school year and just, get those A's and then at the end of the school year, get a PS4. And it was just like, okay, like I can do that. I can do that. That's easy. So during that time, I also refreshed my memory on Witcher 2, but I was like, you know what? I need to be more prepared to play this game. So I looked up the books. I looked up The Witcher 1. I didn't I obviously didn't like read all the books right then and there, but I looked up summaries of basically each book and then the first game and I was just like, "Oh, okay. This is sort of starting to make a little bit more sense." So then the next time I played Witcher 2, I paid a lot more attention to stuff because I was a little bit more open to learning about it. I wasn't just like skipping through dialogue. And it started to click a lot more. But like it's Witcher 2, like even me nowadays, like Witcher 2 is just one of those games that can be hard to follow because you just get lost in the politics of it. But it is still it's a good game. It's just the weakest of the trilogy, just in my opinion, just in my opinion. Don't crucify me. So, yeah, the second playthrough of Witcher 2 actually ended up being a lot better than the first one. I did a lot of different choices that I thought would have made more sense for book Geralt to make, even though I hadn't read any of the books technically. And then I ended up sparing Letho at the end of the playthrough, and I felt a lot better about doing that. And I was like, okay, like I actually really like this game. It's not perfect, but it's like an eight. It's like an eight out of 10. It's pretty good. Yeah, pretty good game. So fast forward a little bit, and I know this is what we're all here for. June 1st, 2015, I bought my first PlayStation 4. Well, my mom did technically, and got Witcher 3 on disc in the case. I actually still have it. I still have the original case, and it got cracked because of how much I played it. That's just honestly impressive because PlayStation 4 games especially were very reliable. Like they were durable as crap. So yeah, man, I came home, got the PlayStation 4 set up for the very first time. We didn't have internet yet, like a reliable source of internet, but thankfully the PlayStation 4 didn't require internet to complete the setup, unlike the Xbox One at the time. God, that was so disappointing. Um, and yeah, got everything set up, and yeah, playing Witcher 3 for the very first time. I still remember it. So it was almost 10 years ago, and I still remember it. Just playing through Witcher 3, walking around White Orchard, doing side quests, doing my first Witcher contract, the Wraith by the Well, then going forward in the story, facing the Griffin, seeing Yennefer, getting the contract to bring Ciri back to the Emperor alive, then going into Velen for the first time, going to the Crossroads, going to Heatherton, meeting the Bloody Baron, meeting Kiramet, meeting the Crones. Like, there's just so much in this game that I do hold very dear to my heart. Now, I will admit, The Witcher 3 has shown its age a little bit, just like every other great game. It's going to age a bit. There are some things that I don't like in it as much. Like, for example, I'm gonna make this argument. I'm gonna say that the Novigrad section is probably the worst part of the main story. maybe, maybe it's at least the least engaging part. But like, I do appreciate the time that Dandelion gets on screen. I also do appreciate the Zoltan screen time. There was a time when I hated Dandelion, but like now that I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? I appreciate the fact that they have those moments between him and Geralt, but like I just wanted a little bit more because like they really are supposed to be best friends, but you don't really get to see that dynamic too much in the games, except maybe Witcher 1, but like Geralt was an amnesiac at that time, so um then going to Skellige for the first time, it was just like, oh my God, like I'm back in Skyrim, baby. It's actually not the worst comparison in the world, but yeah. And then obviously going to Kaer and then doing the Battle of Kaer and then like going through the end game. And then 10 days after I bought the game, I completed the game on June 11th, 2015, my birthday. And what better way to celebrate my birthday than completing this game? And yeah, younger me had such high hopes, dreams, and ambitions. Like this was the game that made me want to be a game designer. Like this was the time period where I really started to see video games as art forms, not just ways to distract yourself, but like games where you could really immerse yourself in these stories and conflicts and character arcs and worlds. Dragon Age, it was sort of the same way, but like I was still too young to really appreciate Dragon Age. Whereas with Witcher 3, I was starting to get more mature. That sounds so stupid when I say it like that. I was starting to get like a little older. I there's no way to say this. Like I was freaking like 14, 15. Like come on, you're not really mature at that age. I mean, some people grow up too fast. I was kind of in that in that stratosphere. Like I do feel like I grew up way too quickly, but that's not a bad thing. But like that's when I was really starting to appreciate video games as more than just distractions and more as art forms. Like it was just yeah. And younger me was like fully dead set on becoming a game designer and making a game like Witcher 3 in the future. And oh man, younger me, I am so sorry to disappoint you, but yeah, getting old sucks. It really does, because it forces you to have to be. I mean, some people can do it, but I just haven't been that lucky. So, anyways, that's beside the point. So I then do a second playthrough of Witcher 3 because it was really the only PS4 game that I owned besides Inquisition, but like I was so high on Witcher 3 that I wanted to keep playing it. I made some different choices. The biggest different choice that I made was romancing Triss. It's actually the only playthrough technically that like I romance Triss, and it's hilarious because I never even finished the playthrough because of a glitch that prevented me from progressing further in the game. It was actually right when you were rescuing Margarita Loent Margarita, we'll just say that. I forget her last name. I actually don't even think it was a glitch. I think it was just me being an idiot and not realizing how to like properly climb ledges. Like I don't know. I just think that I probably could have finished that playthrough, but a part of me also didn't want to do it. 'Cause so then I go into a third playthrough before school started. It was the third playthrough, and it's the playthrough that I can blame for me never wanting to do evil playthroughs in a game ever again. Like I cannot just do playthroughs where I only make evil decisions or wrong decisions or morally wrong decisions. Like, I just can't do that. This is the playthrough to blame. I did basically every wrong decision. Like, I killed every troll. I was such a dick to Ciri, and I romanced both Yennefer and Triss, and I'll admit that's funny, but like I just don't think that Geralt would be stupid enough to actually attempt to do that because that's just very silly. Yeah, and then of course I got the worst possible ending in the game. Oh, it was so rough, man. It was so rough. I haven't seen this ending in a really long time, but I don't want to ever again. Like, I don't think it's that dramatic, but like, it's a rough one to get through for me, especially me being me who I was. Like, it was rough. It actually kept me up at night, like after completing that playthrough, and I was just like, okay, I never want to do that again. Like, man, it actually traumatized me so much that I decided to write a fan fiction about it. Like, I know that's really cringe. I love how I said I grew up too quickly, but I was still a kid. I mean, I still liked doing kid stuff, and the fan fiction I did write. It wasn't horrible. It was just really just recreating that scene just with some extra layers. It wasn't horrible. I've written worse. So yeah, Witcher 3 was a pretty big game for me growing up, especially before high school and then going into high school. It was man, it helped push my creative boundaries a little bit more. It made me really start to think about writing stories more and coming up with ideas and also making music, like writing music. I mean, I can't actually write music. I more just wrote lyrics that I thought were cool and like, I would just like hum a riff and do that. Like that's when I was really starting to get into metal music too, like more metal music. So like that, like combine those two interests, and you just have this beautifully flawed teenage boy who is just like going through the world at his own pace, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. So Witcher 3 was a pretty big part of my like quote awakening. That sounds really horrible when I say it like that. Um, but it was a big game basically. Like it was a pretty big defining point for me growing up. So naturally, I decided to finally go back through the rest of the series with the books, and I started reading the books, and I was just like, oh man, like this is so different. But like, I was able to read all the voices like from the games, like or like read all the characters' voices from like reading Geralt in the book with his voice from the games. That's basically what I was trying to say. And then not too long after that, The Witcher 3's first DLC, Hearts of Stone, released. It was the first thing that I ever pre-ordered, and I mean, what can be said about this DLC that hasn't been said already? Like, it is just chef's kiss, it is perfection. It's such a great DLC. It tells a really good story. Really, the only thing that holds it back from being perfect, I guess, is that Blood and Wine adds a lot more quests, a lot more areas to explore, whereas Hearts of Stone is more story focused. But like both DLCs complement each other so well that I mean, really both DLCs are perfect. I mean, mostly perfect at least. It's like if you complain about one thing in one DLC, the other DLC makes up for it, like with the stuff that it has to like, you know, just a nice little balance. And it was also the time when I started to get like a more stable internet connection, and I also downloaded the free DLC that came with the game, the 16 free DLC. So like I got a few more quests, new armors, and it was fun. There were these communities on the PlayStation 4, like the community's homepage where you could join these groups, like these discussion boards. I really don't know why PlayStation took that feature away. I actually thought it was nice. Like, I would never really go out of my way to use it too much, but I loved sharing screenshots and my fan theories, and everybody in the Witcher community at that time was so nice and open to new people, and it was just fun. Like, it was just a really fun experience growing up. And then we fast forward a year later, almost to the day that I got my PlayStation 4, Blood and Wine released. And again, that was something else that I didn't pre-order it, but I did pick it up at GameStop. It came in this physical case that also came with two Gwent decks, the Northern Realms and Nilfgaardian sets. I still need to get the other ones. It's been it's been almost 9 years. Yeah, still need to get the rest of those Gwent sets. And then I remember getting home, activating the redeem code for Blood and Wine, and then just waiting all day for it to download because that's how bad our internet was. Like we were waiting all day, me and my mom. And then we started playing it. We started the DLC at like 8 p.m. I mean, it was summer, thankfully, so like we didn't have to worry about like anything like that. Like no school and mom was off work. So we waited and we started at 8 p.m. But like by that time, obviously, like it had been all day. So it's just like, okay, we're gonna start this more tomorrow. And we did. And yeah, Blood and Wine again, just like Hearts of Stone. What can I really say about it that hasn't been said? Like it's just so good. It's just so good. Two amazing DLCs that complement an already great base game and just add so much more without it feeling overwhelming. And it feels like I don't want to say it feels like completely separate games. I don't want to go that far, but like it does feel great. And Blood and Wine especially feels like a proper conclusion to Witcher 3. And it ties together all these little knots that have been building since the very first book, like The Last Wish. Like it's just crazy how something from that book, like, Renfrey and the Butcher of Blaviken, like it's crazy how something like that can tie all the way back, like all the way to Blood and Wine, all those years later. It's just crazy, man. Oh, what a time to be alive. And fun fact, shortly after playing Blood and Wine, my mom saw an article where like, hey, they're gonna make a Netflix show. Oh, that's cool. Wonder who they're gonna get it to I wonder if that's even real. It was real, unfortunately, but we'll get into that. So yeah, The Witcher holds a very special place in my heart, but unfortunately, 2017 was not a good year for me. It really wasn't. It was the year that I discovered online gaming and Overwatch, and God, uh, if I could just go back and change one thing, like just one thing, if I knew for sure other things would still happen, like without, I would change me playing Overwatch because like it was just not a good time period for me. It really wasn't because I fell into that stereotypical like, oh, like he's addicted to the game. He's gonna take time off school just to play the game. He's gonna spend money on the game. He's not gonna have any friends physically anymore. You know, like I was legit a walking stereotype with Overwatch. Like that's not what this video is about, but like I figured it was worth mentioning because Witcher 3, just like Red Dead Redemption 2, were two games that helped me get back on the quote rehabilitation stage of my gaming journey. So yeah, it was late 2018. I played Red Dead Redemption 2 for the very first time, and you want to know how low I was mentally? I was not going to buy Red Dead 2 originally, even though I played the original one and I loved it. But I was so petty. They're like, "Ooh, well, they're not gonna have us play as John Marston, so what's the point?" And my mom was like, no, that's freaking stupid. Like, look at this game. Like, look how amazing it looks. Like, you're gonna buy it." I was just like, "Okay, fine, fine, fine." But like, we're gonna return it if I don't like it. She's like, "Okay, that's fair." I don't think I actually said that, but it does sound like something I would say because I was just an asshole back then. So yeah, then I played Red Dead 2, and it was a masterpiece. I mean, it was cinema. Like, if Witcher 3 is an art form, Red Dead 2 is cinema. And then that made me want to go back to play Witcher 3 because it's just like it became like kind of a running thing. It's like every time I played a great game like Red Dead 2 or Ghost of Tsushima or Mass Effect, I would go back to Witcher 3 to like compare it and see how it holds up. And this was also the start of me playing Witcher 3 every year, like at least doing one or two playthroughs every year, like not playing it all the time, like just really reserving it for when I feel like I need to play it the most. And then thankfully 2019 and was a year that I decided to quit Overwatch. Thank God. At least for most of the year. Most of the year. And late 2019, I was able to get a gaming laptop, and I was like, you know what? I have never played the first Witcher game. I've never played it. I actually have a physical disc of it, but I didn't really have a PC to play it on besides the one that I got in like early 2017, but it didn't have a disc tray, and I just I don't think I owned the physical copy of Witcher 1 at that point, and I just never thought about playing it. So I saw it on Steam. It was legit $2. I'm like, you know what? I've never played it. Let's see how it holds up. It doesn't hold up that well, but like it was still fun to play. It was still interesting, and it was a good introduction, especially if you're coming off of the books. It's just a very silly game. It's just a very silly game, but like I enjoyed it a lot. Um, and then that kind of started the wheel, that's kind of got the wheels rolling in my mind, like, oh, I should probably do like all three games. And I did. So 2020 was a cursed year, but then I decided to do all three Witcher games for the very first time. Like play through all three of them. That sounded really weird. Like when I said that, like do all Witcher 3 games. Like that sounded really weird. Um, So I decided to start over Witcher 1, then go through Witcher 2, and then into Witcher 3, importing my save across all three games. This is probably the only part that sucks about the Witcher trilogy. Like, well, one of the things that sucks. It's like when you do that, you don't really notice that many changes. Like, it's not really that much. Like, maybe when you go into Witcher 1 and then go into 2, you notice a few more changes, but then when you get to the third game, it's just like, there's not really anything here, which sucks. It really does. I mean, it's kind of like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, but like those two franchises are a little better at importing a lot of choices throughout the trilogies, whereas Witcher 3 just kind of comes up a little bit short and it sucks. But it's not anything that really damns the games. It's just something I've noticed. So 2020 was a cursed year, so naturally that meant at the end of the year I had to play day one Cyberpunk and then get addicted to Overwatch again. Oh, no, I was doing so good. Oh, damn it. So then 2021, I spent a lot of it playing Overwatch, but like well, no, it was pretty bad. I think I was in a better frame of mind to where like I at least had the common sense to not spend money on it, but like I was thankfully able to get out a lot sooner than I had the last time. Because then I started playing Mass Effect again, or I started playing Mass Effect for the first time. And again, that was like probably the third and final game that was great for my quote video game rehabilitation or like my single player rehabilitation because Mass Effect, it just it was just that game for me for a while. Like, I remember doing my third playthrough, and I was so depressed after playing that game that, like, my friend group in Overwatch, they actually messaged me, like, hey, you want to play comp? And I was just like, okay, fine. So I got on. I didn't say a single word. I wasn't offering call outs. I wasn't doing anything like that because it was at that point where I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm so fucking tired of this game. I'm so tired of it. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I just left after like our second loss in a row. Like I just didn't say anything. Like I know that was kind of an asshole thing for me to do, but like in that moment, like I was just so tired of playing that game. And I couldn't get over the fact that like I just did my third playthrough of Mass Effect, which was like which was the first time that I romanced Tally and I got like the best possible ending, quote best possible ending. And it sucked, man. It was depressing. And then I deleted the game right after that. Like, I was done. Like, I was so done with Overwatch. And I was just done with the friend group that I was playing with. Like, it was just not a good time. So yeah, what does this have to do with Witcher 3? Well, nothing yet. Then I decided to rebuy Witcher 3, the complete editions, because fun fact, on the PlayStation 4, there are two different versions of The Witcher 3 that you can buy. There's the regular edition that released in 2015, and then there's the complete edition that released, I believe, in 2017. And they have two separate trophy sets. So I'm just like, you know what? Let me buy this game again just to give me a reason to play it and platinum it again. So I did. It was not a good playthrough because it turned into mostly a speed run that I got done in under 50 hours. But hey, it was still pretty fun. Then I had to do a palate cleanser playthrough of Witcher 3 on the PC, this time just going straight to that game instead of playing the other two, and it was fun. Got to really experiment with more mods and all that fun stuff. So yeah, it was pretty fun. And you might have noticed that I haven't talked about the Netflix show. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about the Netflix show. I really don't. It's so bad. Ugh, it's so bad. Like, I'm not even gonna talk about it. Like, no, I'm not doing it. Let's move on. So, yeah, then in 2022, I believe. Speaking of Netflix, the one of the things that was supposed to hype up the second season of the show was a Witcher 3 next gen update that was releasing for PS5, Xbox, whatever, and then the PC. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. That gives me a reason to play through the trilogy again. So I did. That was actually the last time I played Witcher 1 and Witcher 2 was 2022. And then the update released in December, and then I tried the next gen update, and it sucked. Like, it ran so bad on my PC. I mean, I don't have a potato PC, but like my PC is decent. But man, running that game on the next gen update sucked. It's much better on the classic edition, like the 1.31 edition of the game, just in my opinion. Oh man. Then few years pass. I'm not even kidding. Few years pass, and we get to the year of our Lord 2024, and I finally go back to Witcher 3 after what feels like a millennia away, and yeah, it still holds up. Still holds up very well. I did play it with the next gen update, so I noticed a lot of issues, but I also noticed a lot of things that I never saw before thanks to mods, the Brothers in Arms mod collection, like where it restores a lot of cut content, so that was pretty cool. But I unfortunately never finished this playthrough because there were just so many glitches and crashes, and it just sucked, to put it simply. Like, it's the only time in The Witcher 3 where I can safely say that, man, that sucked a lot. Well, besides the Reasons Estate quest, I hated that quest too. I just don't like that one. I just really don't like that quest. It's one of the worst quests in the game. So, yeah. And here we are, me just talking about Witcher, and yeah. The Witcher series, again, as I said at the beginning of the video, is just something that I hold very dear to my heart. It was the first series that I really got into on my own, like with no like it was just something that I got to experience like on my own and love on my own, and it's still a series that I love. Like I know that's really horrible English on my part. Like, "Oh, I love this series. It was the first series that I loved. And it's the first." Like, probably could have worded that a little different, but it's okay. Yeah, I enjoy Witcher a lot. Like, it has aged a little bit, but I think that Witcher still offers such a unique take on a dark fantasy medieval world where like really some of the worst monsters are the ones that people can create, and you get to really just see how horrible people can be, whether it's humans, elves, dwarves. Like there's just so much to unravel, and there's like so much political intrigue. Like this, I don't care about normal politics in real life, but fictional politics, hell yes. Like I find that so much more interesting, and you get to really see, not just in the games but in the books, how much the politics can really shape this world. There's so much world building, like it's more than just monsters, like the normal monsters that you fight, but like then there's the monsters behind the scenes that are like pulling the strings and doing all these wars and conflicts and assassinations and incest and ugh. So yeah, like Witcher is just so interesting to me. It's like, I mean, it's like this one great YouTuber said in his video analysis of the series, like where he basically just compared it to Shrek, but it's like a real life version of it, like a Shrek that takes itself seriously. And it's just like, you know what? That actually makes so much sense. Like I know out of context that doesn't probably sound like the most like accurate depiction of Witcher, but like it kind of is because there are like these fairy tales just running amok everywhere. There's these fictional references that aren't like too on the nose, like Fallout 2, and yeah. And then Geralt of Rivia as a protagonist, I just love playing as him. I actually blame Geralt a lot for the way that I carry myself in real life, like my dry sense of humor. Geralt was actually one of the reasons I wanted to grow my hair out, and I did. I kept my hair grown out for a while, like actually like 4 years of like taking care of it and maintaining it, and I miss it so much. I miss my long hair. I miss it so much, man. I'm gonna try to grow it out like 2025, especially because like we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of me playing Witcher 3 for the first time. It's crazy how this game is almost 10 years old. But yeah, like Witcher 3, like I actually remember buying a t-shirt and a Witcher medallion, like a wolf head medallion, like in honor of like playing through the games for the first time in 2015. I still have both of them. The shirt still fits, and the medallion, it has like aged a little bit, but like it still looks cool. Yeah, I'm just so grateful for this series and Witcher 3 especially. Like, it's always going to be my favorite game. Even if I do play some other games like Baldur's Gate 3 or Final Fantasy 7 or Red Dead 2 that do some things better than Witcher 3, I still appreciate Witcher 3 as a game, as an experience, as an introduction to this funny little thing that we love a lot, video games being art forms. And man, I think that's it. I'm gonna probably end it right here because I just think I don't really need to yap too much more right now. I'm still kind of in a food coma from yesterday. At the time of recording, this is the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday. So, yeah, still kind of in a food coma from yesterday, but yeah, Witcher 3 is awesome. The Witcher series is awesome. Just not the Netflix show. Just avoid that like the plague because it is the plague. Anyways, that is all for now, and yeah, talk to you later.